I know it's a bit different in Scotland, yeah, but still. But now the Tories, they're so desperate that they want to form an alliance with the DUP, and that is dangerous on many levels. And I think that the speakers that are going to talk tonight are going to shed light on it. And also, if anybody wants to say a few words, I would just advise them to make yourself known, come that way, and obviously it's open for you to raise whatever you want to be raising. I'm going to leave now the mic to Samuel, who is going to facilitate the event, and I really hope that this is the first of many mobilization, because things are looking grim for this government, and we now have a massive opportunity to see a real change, which starts by uniting to stop this coalition of chaos. So, there you go. Maybe we could do as well a few chants. So there's a popular one, it goes like this. Say hey! Hey! Ho! Ho! Theresa May has got to go! Say hey! Hey! Ho! Theresa May has got to go! Say hey! Hey! Ho! Ho! Theresa May has got to go! Hey! Ho! Ho! Theresa May has got to go!
Thank you very much. I'm Samuel, one of the main organisers alongside Sonia and Penny, who gave them a helping hand in making today's event successful. Judging by the turnout, it's clear to see that many people are upset about the fact that the Tories that went into bed with the DUP, one of the most awful parties in Britain in current times. I'm going to pass you over to our first speaker, Han Deacon, from the Scottish Irish Abortion Campaign.
I'm Han, and I'm here representing the Scottish Irish Abortion Rights Campaign. I might be looking at my book a lot, sorry. It's been pretty evidenced by the increase in Google searches for the DUP that, and the conversations I've had with some English and Scottish friends, that not many people are really aware of what it's like for people in Ireland with wombs. And if this is the case, I don't really blame you. The English media likes to ignore Northern Ireland, and they have for however long.
Ignoring us for years.
And ignoring you guys for years as well. However, this proposed coalition with the DUP has thrown their policies and Northern Irish law into the light, and I hope to make this absolutely clear. It is not only a backwards and oppressive system that people with wombs live in Northern Ireland, it is a dangerous one. The 1967 Abortion Act, which allows abortions with 2 doctors' signatures in under 24 weeks, it was never extended to Northern Ireland. The act which still shapes proceedings in the North is the 1861 Offences Against the Person Act. Sorry.
Can you hear anything or not?
On that one, yeah.
So, the 1861 Offences Against the Person Act, which was a relic passed before women even had the right to vote, is the one that still shapes policy in Northern Ireland. This act criminalises anyone carrying out an abortion, except in some extremely limited circumstances, to the extent that the person can be jailed for life. The circumstances allowing an abortion in Northern Ireland do not include rape, incest, or fatal fetal abnormality. One of the circumstances it does allow for is a risk to the life of the person who is pregnant. However, as evidenced in the Republic by the teenage suicidal girl who was sanctioned while seeking an abortion because she was suicidal, proves that this risk to the life of the woman isn't actually something that's considered when someone is seeking an abortion. People with wombs in Northern Ireland, and I say people with wombs because abortion rights do not only extend to women, but trans, intersex and non-binary people. People capable of becoming pregnant in Northern Ireland cannot access an abortion through the NHS despite being UK citizens. Whether or not you agree that Northern Irish people should be part of the UK, they are. And this disparity in human rights between the North and the rest of the UK is indicative of the disregard England has for Northern Irish people. Ignoring them until an oppressive and backwards party can be of use to maintain a conservative majority in government. According to the British Pregnancy Advisory Service, more than 724 women travelled from Northern Ireland to England for an abortion in 2016. And while that number is still in your head, I want to read you a headline I read this morning. NHS-funded abortion ban upheld by UK Supreme Court due to government's respect for Northern Irish Assembly. Let's look at some of the quotes from the current representatives of that assembly, which we are supposed to be respecting. May seeks to strike a deal with someone like David Simpson, who referred to pro-choice MPs as having an anti-democratic, anti-human rights stance. Gregory Campbell has called himself unashamedly pro-life, and Arlene Foster herself has said, "I would not want abortion here to be as freely available as it is in England, and I do not support the extension of the 1967 Act." Let's not forget, while we're at it, Ian Paisley Jr., who thinks homosexuality is immoral, offensive, and obnoxious. I would ask the government, what part of that sounds like something worth respecting? Why do you hold more respect for these politicians than the lives of people living in Northern Ireland? Not everyone can afford to travel to England, and not everyone can afford a privately funded abortion. Abortion needs to be free, it needs to be safe, and it needs to be legal. Free, safe, legal. Restrictive abortion laws do not keep abortions from happening. They only serve to criminalize and endanger the people who seek them. For every block and restriction and inaccessibility in obtaining an abortion, there is a line of dead people who are forced to attempt one themselves. Our bodies are our own. They are not the property of any state, nor the ideological battleground of any religion or political belief. Until people with wombs are trusted to be the authors of our own lives and have the full autonomy entitled to us by the virtue of the European Convention on Human Rights, which Irish law has consistently been shown to be in direct contradiction to, we are living as second-class citizens. It is shameful that Northern Irish people have ignored for so long, but the attention brought to them from this election and this proposed coalition can be a positive thing. Stay informed. Please stay active. Do not let the violation of our human rights continue. Support organisations like the Abortion Support Network, which provides practical information, funding and accommodation to people forced to travel for safe legal abortion. Women Help Women is an organisation which provides abortion pills and contraceptive access direct to people's homes. Abortion is a right, and our lives are not afterthoughts. Theresa May, your willingness to jump into bed with the DUP demonstrates your disregard for women, LGBTQIA+ people and people seeking abortions. You have no mandate to let a party with these oppressive policies into the governance of the UK. The UK government needs to take responsibility for the lives of people suffering under its governance. We will not be swept under the rug and ignored to further your political agenda. We are not expendable pawns in your political games, and we are not vessels.
So our second speaker for this evening is a activist who I hope you will all be happy to hear from, Penny Coles.
So, if I say anything political, it's my opinion. If I say anything about fracking, it's the view of the fracking activists in Scotland. Actually, they agree with most of the political stuff too. So I just want to start with the general election. So people in Scotland who voted Tory were told that they were actually voting not for Theresa May, but according to all the literature, for Ruth Davidson's Scottish Conservatives, which was being presented as a very different organisation. The Scottish Conservatives also now want to distance themselves from the DUP. Apparently Ruth Davidson has had stern words with Theresa May on this subject. I want to talk to you about something that they all have in common, and they can't make any shabby denials about it. They all love fracking. Here in Scotland, Conservative MSPs have been giving their constituents a distorted image about the impact of fracking, or unconventional gas extraction, as it should more properly be called. They have been telling their constituents that fracking in Scotland will deliver £4.6 billion of gross added value to the Scottish economy. But what they never tell their constituents is that is a figure over 42 years, and that therefore the annual figure is about £110 million a year, which is peanuts. For example, low carbon industries in Scotland have an annual turnover of 10.7 billion and support 43,500 jobs. And the DUP also love fracking. When thousands of people were protesting against plans to drill for oil in their community in East Antrim, among some of Northern Ireland's most beautiful lakes and forests, DUP MP Sammy Wilson said, "This is just a bunch of green agitators who are opposed to fossil fuels. We're seeking to scare the devil out of the people." They seem to know a lot about the devil, these people. And he goes on, "I hope they find as much oil in Carrickfergus as there is in Texas. It will be like Christmas come early." And Theresa May loves fracking. The Tory manifesto planned to stop local people holding up exploration by saying that fracking companies can now start drilling without going through any proper planning process. And when in 2015 Lancashire County Council said no to fracking at Preston New Road, Environment Secretary Safa Javid simply overruled them. And we send from here our very best wishes to those brave campaigners who are out there in all weathers trying to protect their community from the fracking. What fracking shows is that there is no real democracy. We don't have any right to say that a dangerous, dirty, polluting industry that will damage our health and our children's health can't set up outside our back door. In the anti-fracking movement worldwide, there's a concept we use which is social license. We say there is no social license for fracking in an area. And that is certainly true in Scotland, where 40,000 people just told the Scottish Government to ban it. And I don't know why they don't just do that right now. But because we don't live in a real democracy, because we live in a broken system, our views, the views of those 40,000 people, or the people who are marching slowly in front of great trucks in Lancashire, are not the deciding factor. Our democracy is limited to a vote every few years, a consultation now and again, that we are not in charge, and that is what has to change in my view. And I have to say this is only my view. I can't speak for everyone in the anti-fracking movement on these political questions. But in my view, we need a real democracy now. And we need to start working with all those who are fed up with having no power to imagine it, design it, and then bring it into being. And if the corporations want to do stuff in the future, they'll need to get a social license to do it from the 99% and not a cheap license issued in the interests of the 1%. And I'm very proud of the turnout from the Scottish anti-fracking movement here today. You can see lots of faces. So I'm just going to finish by asking you to join in the chant that the Scottish anti-fracking movement takes to all the demonstrations up and down the country. And it goes like this, so join in. Not here, not there, no fracking anywhere. Not here, not there, no fracking anywhere. Not here, not there, no fracking anywhere. Thank you very much.
So the next speaker I'm going to introduce for this evening is Lynn Sheridan.
Thanks, Samuel. Brothers and sisters, I'm here as in a personal capacity, but I'm the Equality Officer for Unison up at GCU Caledonian University. And many of you will know me from my work with Unison on LGBTI issues. We've fought in Scotland for many, many years to make this a country that's safe for people who just want to live their lives with the people that they love, no matter what their sexual orientation is, what their colour is, what their religion is, whatever bloody hell anything is. All we say is that human rights should be extended to everybody. Those of you that are a wee bit older, like myself, will remember in the first session of the new Scottish Parliament, where the Labour executive at the time decided that we were going to get rid of an insidious piece of legislation that had been introduced by Margaret Thatcher, which was Clause 2A, which in essence said that our educators, our teachers, our lecturers, whatever, could not speak in a positive way in any form about homosexuality. And they took a pounding from individuals, millionaires like Brian Souter, who thought that he could get a backlash against them and stop the vote going through. Well, brothers and sisters, that did not happen. We got rid of Clause 2A in Scotland, and I'm very proud. I'm very proud of the involvement of all of the trade unions, the STUC, in that campaign. We had to put up with homophobic attacks, postcards coming through our doors for Brian Souter, etc. And we told people like him, you can have your religious beliefs, but we also have our human rights, and they trump your religious beliefs. What we are seeing this last week since the election results were announced is a changing tide within UK politics. Because let's be honest, when was the last time you saw such a radical manifesto from the UK Labour Party? It's been a long bloody time coming, let's be honest about that. But what we've also seen is a woman desperate to hold on to power, desperate to manage and to maintain the rights of the ruling class against the working classes of the United Kingdom. Well, brothers and sisters, what's happening in terms of this deal between the Tory government, inverted commas, because they've not yet had the Queen's speech, and the DUP is abhorrent. We have a political organisation in Northern Ireland which is racist, sexist, homophobic, you name it, it is it. And we've got a Tory party leader who is desperate to hold on to power, and she will make a deal with the devil if it means that she can get into power. And it is, for me, ironic that you've got somebody like Ruth Davidson who's saying, oh, well, you know, the LGBT stuff that's not going to happen because it's a devolved matter and therefore we don't really need to worry about that, but I don't like it. We need to say as a nation that we will not tolerate homophobia, we will not tolerate sexism, we will not tolerate the taking away of women's rights to choose. And we will stand with the political parties in Northern Ireland who are fearful of the outcome of this coalition because it infringes on the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland, and we don't want to go back to the 1970s. Can I just finish my comments by saying how awful it was today to find out that Theresa May had gone down to West London to the tragedy at the Tower Blocks and did not speak to one survivor of that tragic incident. Absolute shame on her. So, where do we go from here? Well, I think we need to build bigger demonstrations across the United Kingdom, and we need to coordinate those demonstrations to say, not in our time will we be taken back to the times of the 1970s where we are divided on the basis of our religion, of our sexual orientation, or on our gender. Let's stick together, brothers and sisters, and fight this fight. Thank you.
The Tories warned when they signed Jeremy Corbyn's manifesto for the election that we were going back to 1978. Theresa May never warned us that it would be her that was taking us back to 1978 and reigniting the troubles in Ireland. Theresa May also warned us about a chaotic coalition. She failed to mention that she'd be the leader of said coalition. Now I'm going to introduce our next speaker, David Semple from PCS.
Comrades, brothers and sisters, my name's Dave Semple. I'm the chair of Scotland Committee in PCS, that's the Public and Commercial Services Union, the union for civil servants. I'm also, as you can probably tell, Northern Irish. And I'm here to tell you what the DUP is not. The DUP is not the voice of the Protestant working class in Northern Ireland. The people the DUP represents are the landlords in rural areas and businesses in the cities, the people who oppress the Protestant working class. And I, along with many others, have lived and worked and went to school in East Belfast, in the States, where no one votes, certainly for the DUP. And the DUP can be beaten. These pro-austerity parties, whether they're Sinn Féin, SDLP, UUP or DUP, can be beaten. We beat them on the water charges in Northern Ireland. The trade unions united across the sectarian divide and called demonstrations, organised mass petitions to beat them when they tried to introduce water charges on ordinary working class people. We can beat them on sectarian violence. Whenever working class people have been killed as a result of IRA or UVF action, what's happened next? The trade unions have organised mass demonstrations through the centre of Belfast in protest against that sectarian violence. That's how we'll beat them. We'll beat them by being united. We have a job ahead of us. This government has been dealt a body blow by the recent election, but they're down, but they're not out yet. Our next step has to be to call on the trade unions, and I issue that call here today, to call on all of the trade unions across Scotland, across the United Kingdom, across Ireland, to organise demonstrations against Tory austerity, to get us the kind of government that we want, to renationalise our public services, to smash the pay cap on the public sector. But we have to go further still. A demonstration is step one. And a demonstration has been called by the People's Assembly for the 1st of July in London. And I will be there along with many of my brothers and sisters across PCS. But we have now to seriously give thought to calling a 24-hour general strike against austerity and to finally bring down this government. Brothers and sisters, solidarity from the workers in the civil service, solidarity from the members of my union, the PCS. Let's go forward, let's smash these bastards once and for all.
So, the Tories like to think that we're all independent supporters and we're all nationalists. So let's show them once and for all that this fight's for everyone. Let's start a wee chant. Yes or no, Theresa May has got to go. Yes or no, Theresa May has got to go. Yes or no, Theresa May has got to go. Yes or no, Theresa May has got to go. Yes or no, Theresa May has got to go. Yes So I'm going to pass you back over to Sonia, an anti-fascist activist, to say a few words.
Hi again. Alright, I want to start again by talking about the elections. And if you could just take a second to imagine the Tories' face when the exit poll results came out, and then throughout the night, it must have been amazing. So I'm sure many of you were like me, you started watching it thinking, oh God, and then just stayed up all night because how amazing it was. And they have led the most disastrous campaign in history, to be fair. And I come from a country where during the last election, my choice was between a neoliberal banker or the fascist Front National. And it was amazing to see here that there was a real choice. Like, you had on the one hand the Tories, a party of rich bastards who want to destroy the NHS, who want to bring back fox hunting, they want to take away school meals, and now they've shown that they don't care if the houses we live in are fit or safe. And on the other hand, you had Jeremy Corbyn, and for me, it was refreshing. And those elections, they took place under a very tense climate with the attacks that happened in London and in Manchester. And fascist organizations like the English Defence League, the National Action, Britain First, the Scottish Defence League, or the Scottish Dawn. And if people don't know about the Scottish Dawn, there you go, you can read about them. They're actually active in Glasgow, and I really think we need to do something about that. But they're trying to capitalize on this, and they're trying to recruit people, but also they want to spread their messages of fear and hatred. And let's be clear, their racist message and action, they only help the likes of ISIS who thrive on racial and religious persecution against Muslims in Europe. And in Scotland, they have tried to mobilize again. In Edinburgh, they tried to organize a white pride, and only 30 of them turned out, and they were massively outnumbered. But they also went to other places. They went to Alloa, they went to Wishaw, they go to smaller places, and there we are not as successful. And that's also due to the amount of police that is deployed to make sure that they're allowed to march. Since the tragic event in Manchester, they've announced that they're going to be marching again in Edinburgh on the 25th of June. And that's not because for white pride, that's against terror. And I really urge everybody to come to this demonstration, because I want to see a Liverpool-style resistance, not one that happened in Manchester when Tommy Robinson managed to attract hundreds of people and hundreds of supporters because it was it's against terror. And since Brexit, and obviously with the attacks, there has been an increase, a massive increase in the number of daily attacks against our Muslim brothers and sisters. And we should be grateful that some people are currently celebrating Ramadan, because they were up during the night and they helped save those people that were burning. So I think we need to oppose Islamophobia in any shape it takes. So that means, we need to mobilize when the Scottish Defence League come on our streets. But we also need to try to stop government program like Prevent that is trying to turn teachers like me into informants. But the fascists were not the only one that tried to capitalize on the death of tragic children. The Tories, they used that to increase the authoritarian power of the state by deploying armed militaries onto the streets. And guns, they don't make anybody safer. And more police on the street will not stop terrorism. And for that, I'll just tell you, look at France. We've been under a state of emergency for the past 2 years, and the attacks haven't stopped. By giving more power to the police and the military, all it does is deepening the climate of fear, and it is used to repress minorities on top of crushing our civil liberties and our right to protest. So I know that many people have sympathy for the police. And I'm sure that some individual police officers, they might be decent human beings under their uniforms and riot gears. But the police is an institutionally racist structure which will not deliver anything resembling to real safety.